What's the most disgusting thing you've found in someone else's home? My husband and I were apartment hunting. Went with the property management rep to look at a place. Walked in and the previous tenant was lying dead in the kitchen. Didn't rent the place. Mentally impaired girl kept in a 6th floor attic room with cats that had given birth on her bed that was never cleaned and also covered in cat vomit. The room was filled with containers of moldy urine and feces. Her room was hidden behind a curtain and a fake wall. There was a TV, a light and a bed. Power was run through the drywall with lamp wire. I was a cable guy at that time. I apparently accidentally found her room on an install. I walked back to my truck, cried and called services. Very late, but I used to work for a moving company. One time we were doing the walkthrough and the other guy with me wanted to test the weight of the couch. So we briefly lifted it up. Before we fully set it back down, the lady asked us to pick it up again. We did. She leaned under and, with her bare hand, grabbed a dead rat. Then held onto the rat and used it to point to all the different furniture items we would be moving for her. I couldn't believe it. A herd of dead deer in a flooded, unfinished basement. Coagulated deer soup 2 feet deep mixed with heating oil and the full length of the house. Someone tried to live upstairs and I was there to disconnect services. Helping my in-laws hang curtains on the window at the back of the lounge room. Moved my FIL's recliner out of the way. Next to where his chair had been, found a quite literally inch-high pile of his chewed-off fingernails, probably about 4-6 inches diameter. They'd lived there for about 4 years. Turned out in the evening when he was watching his 3 hours of news broadcasts across 4 different channels, he would bite at his fingernails and then just flick them over the armrest where presumably, to him, they just disappeared into the abyss when they were found. I just looked at him. He looked at me, and then said, "Amiel's name really doesn't clean well, does she?" My sister didn't take care of her cat. She locked him outside of the room in the dark and never cleaned his box. As a result, the outside would be covered in random litter piles with shit everywhere. Piss-soaked couch because his box was so filthy. Smell was awful. Worms were all inside the shit. Flies and roaches too. She was disgusting and abusive and expected me to clean it. Her belongings piled everywhere in boxes. Don't worry, I rescued the cat. But it was vile. I've seen some pretty bad stuff as a cable internet phone technician. Homes that had many pets, but they never took them outside. Trash order homes. Dead animals. One that really stuck out, and only ever happened once, was this larger blonde girl who needed her internet fixed. She had a recliner-type chair in front of her computer with a camera on top of the monitor. Clearly some sort of camming. Here's where it got bad. I could clearly tell this girl was a squirter. The recliner was extremely stained and the monitor, wall, and desk had dried up jiggity juice on it. The internet modem was on that desk. Yep, you guessed it. She's been getting her giggity Jews all over it and it finally kicked the bucket. The worst part, though, was the smell. If you were blindfolded, you'd have thought you were in a room with dead bodies in it. I had to grab a new modem, got some gloves, replaced modem, bagged modem, left. I didn't personally find it, but I worked at a group home for traumatic brain injuries and one of the staff found 50 used tampons under one of the residents' beds. He would occasionally dress as a woman, and it was worked out with the facility that on those days he was allowed to use the women's bathroom, and apparently he was stealing them out of the trash. They had to stop letting him after that. Went to a girl's apartment to hang out. She seemed normal, but when we went to her room I saw that she didn't have any sheets on her bed, just a bare mattress and a comforter. The disgusting thing was the menstrual stains that covered the entire middle of the mattress in a big, sanguine oval. She just slept that way every night like it was normal. Not a home, but I was cleaning a dorm rooms once and I pulled moldy underwear out of a mini fridge. I ran an EMS call once to the home of family of hoarders. What I saw and smelled was indescribable. My EMT and my medic both had to go outside and puke into a snowbank. Edit. A huge poop stored inside an old shoebox which my friend's boyfriend said he was going to send to the Guinness World Records to see if he broke the record for largest poop. I smelled it the second I walked into the bathroom and found the shoebox. He sadly did not break the record. Everything, and I mean everything, was covered in roach shit. I didn't even know roaches could cover something in shit. A girl's internet search history. I was there to work on her PC. I was not snooping or anything seedy. But there was horse porn. There were horse posters in the walls. I had a coworker about 12 years ago who used to host Sunday Funday. One week I eventually went for the first time. The place wasn't clean, not somewhere I'd eat, but could have been worse. Then I had to pee. I was so repulsed by the condition of the bathroom. It was him and 3 roommates. The sink, toilet, and shower were completely crusted in dirt, grime, dust, hair, piss, shit, or toothpaste. And a thick layer of it too. I imagined it hadn't been cleaned in 3 years. And the dude always looked so nice for work too. Never would have guessed. First time I felt like I needed a hazmat suit somewhere and was afraid to touch anything. Couldn't pee fast enough. Seriously, the dankest gas station bathroom would be cleaner. Bloody tampons and used condoms all over the bathroom floor when I went on a service call. As a former cable guy, I ran into my share of hoarders, but the worst was the person who let their cockatiel fly freely around their house. No cage, bird shit on every surface. And I mean every single surface. I used to say I had seen everything except a dead human body. Then on my last week at that job, I had a service call at a funeral home and I got to check that last bit off my list. Pictures of me naked in suggestive poses when I was like 5 or 6. My dad's camper in 2001. Dark, but a video on my stepdad's phone of myself changing. Just an impossible amount of Subway wrappers next to the toilet. I used to be a maid, and one house in particular was always the worst one. 3 stories, very big, and would be nice house. Very wealthy people, a family with 3 kids from what I could see in the pictures. There would just be used diapers on the floor sometimes. Not a one-time situation, they just leave used diapers around. But the whole house was always so filthy too, and they only paid for our services once a month, and I'm pretty sure that one day a month was the only time anything was cleaned or picked up in the house. A different house, I once found a cup in one of the kids' room that had a mystery liquid filled with mold and made me want to throw up. Another house I cleaned had a teenage boy and hated cleaning his room cause I'm pretty sure cum was on most things. I'm glad I don't work there anymore. I was chatting with a neighbor outside. She was very odd but nice enough. She invited me inside to meet her cat that she recently adopted. I crouched down to pet the cat and happened to kinda brace myself on her recliner. The armrest, where I put my hand, was all crusty with boogers, I guess. I know the shock must have shown on my face. I went home and washed my hands for a really, really long time. When I was a kid, I went over to a friend of a friend's house. These 2 brothers were always a bit strange and messy. Walked up to their room, which was cluttered and filthy, and hung out for a while. Later on, I had to use the bathroom. The toilet was full of shit. Like, it got clogged once and they just continued to shit in it up to the point that you couldn't even sit on it without your ass touching shit. Looking back on it, those poor boys had terrible, disgusting meth head parents. There was a reason I felt uncomfortable from the minute I walked into that house. Unflushed toilets. I mean, it's okay if it happens once, but out of multiple different instances, the toilet, no matter which bathroom at my friend's house, was never flushed. I was helping my partner clean out his grandmother's house after she died. His brother had stayed with their grandmother 2 to 3 nights a week to be there in case she needed anything. Underneath his bed, we found 40 bottles approximately filled with his pee. I just don't understand why he didn't pour them out in the morning. Why just keep filling more?